Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got some done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe, right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up there in age, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about financial responsibility and being financially responsible. I was going over a lot of my books that I read on financial freedom, and I really landed on this Chris Hogan book for today. It's really like a study on millionaires. Now you've all seen me go through all these books. I have read all these books already. And as I'm getting started to write my own, I started to look at, the Chris Hogan book, to be more specific. I wasn't going to shout it out, but I guess I should because I am going to use it for some content today. And so when we talk about being financially responsible, one thing that Chris Hogan does address in the book is the humility that is shown, not knowing it all. In the process of understanding and learning more, right? All these books prove that I am continuing to learn, continuing to grow as an individual. Although I have read all of these books and implemented some of these processes, there's still so much more to learn. Innately, I am more involved in stocks and real estate. However, there are other investments to be made. We all know there's angel investing. You can invest in businesses. So there are so much more things that you can learn from and grow from, and not just real estate and the stock market. But in this case, we're going to talk about not keeping up with the Joneses, because this is very important, and really understanding that in order to be financially free, you cannot simply live a life carefree. You need to make sure that you are in control of your money and how it is being used, and not your money being in control of you. Let me break that down for you. So this is not necessarily in the book, but this is how I perceive life to be and how life essentially works for me. So for example, there was a time in my life where I was in college, and obviously living on campus required more cash than I would make in 3 months, right? In 3 months, you would spend $6,000 just on room and board, and then another $2,500 for unlimited food for 3 months, okay? And so with that being said, you were spending close to $9,000 in 3 months. And as a college student, that was not a feasible thing for me to do. So when I was forced to do so because the college demanded that all new transfer students remain on campus for their first year, and I didn't want to work my first semester in college, I quickly realized that all the savings that I had saved from 18 to 19 years old would be eradicated if I chose not to work the second semester. So now life and money started to happen to me. I wasn't in control of the finances and how that was divvied up. And so a lot of times people do need consistency. Working the same job over time allows you to get habits down, behaviors down, to where you dictate where your money is going, how it's being spent. And a lot of the times, although you don't make as much as you would jumping from job to job, you have a system in place that will allow you to become rich, as long as you're investing, saving, and staying out of debt. So in this case, for me, I was allowing life and money to happen to me. I then decided I'm going to pause it. I'm going to get it to stagnate. And in order to stagnate this, I needed to start to work And I needed to start to really just break even because, again, college was super expensive. And so I would use the summer, I would use the winters to try and catch up so that when the semester did come, I was able to pay for it in cash. Now, another thing that I wanted to state was that I also took summer classes and winter classes to graduate on time, because transferring, sometimes all your credits don't transfer over. So because of that, I needed to really buckle down and pay additional money in the summer and in the winter in order to take one or two different classes. With that being said, I had to continue to live in a poor situation, but we all know that that is temporary. And, being humble enough to say, you know what, I live in a box right now, but life will be better. Life will get better. And to be honest, there were times where I knew the road would finish. I would get to the end of the road, but when you're in it, it all feels so horrible. But you have to stay resilient. You have to remain consistent. A lot of people fail to remain consistent. A lot of people fail to really hone in on where they can be successful, where they can improve. When I was working in the restaurant industry, when I was working at Amazon, although I was investing, saving, and doing everything I could, life was still happening to me. Not in a sense that the money wasn't going where it needed to be. No, all the money was allocated properly, but there was a sense of urgency to get out from the rat race because I just knew I was so stressed out. I was gaining so much weight. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't feeling good. I needed to eat lemon pie every single night after work as a reward for myself from getting through the day. So it can tell you how stressed out I was. I would never take any breaks. Although it was allowed to me, I just felt like I needed to stay working, stay consistent. And so, while you're going through it, it may not always be the healthiest, and it should be, but it may not always be the healthiest option for you. You need to make sure that your goals are being met financially, that you're not trying to keep up with anybody else, and that you're really honing in on your responsibilities. Temptation is the hardest thing to get past. I am tempted every single day just like everybody else. But in order to be a millionaire, in order to be financially free and financially successful, you need to be strong enough to truly start to get rid of temptations and say no to temptations right in front of you. There are people every day who tell me I can't have a credit card because I would just spend everything on that credit card. And I completely understand. Now, that's not my life. I do have credit cards, and I am happy and content with my credit cards, and I will not use and abuse them. But it is true that people do spend more money with a credit card. I am guilty of that as well. I spend way more money than I would if I did not have a credit card. But at the end of the day, I still know that I'm not going into my savings account or my investments because I want to buy something shiny and new. If I can't pay for it with my checking account, I would not use my credit card to purchase it. And so it's still having that discipline, having that resolve in myself to say, you know what? I'm not going to buy that right now. I'm not going to buy that today. I might think about it for months on end, but ultimately I am not going to buy it because it is not a necessity. Sometimes you just have to ask yourself, is this necessary? Yes, I want it. Yes, I'll continue to think about it, but is it necessary for me to continue to move on and grow within my life? And a lot of the times the answer is going to be no. It is not necessary for you to do those things. It's not necessary for you to go out and eat. It's not necessary for you to buy that new toy, that new car, that new home right now when you're still learning and growing. And so Having that financial responsibility is truly important. And another thing is really having the mindset of, I can actually do it. You know, a lot of these books, a lot of these success books talk about people making it out of nothing. Parents didn't have bachelor's degrees, growing up in single parent households, not necessarily having the brightest upbringing. Some millionaires never even going to college or even finishing high school. We hear success stories every day of billionaires who never even finished school. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that people have in common that's going to be competitive nature, group-oriented activities, whether it's team sports or speech speech conferences, just being involved, being active, being in bands, being social to some degree, competitive to some degree, having a want and a will and a drive to succeed. If you're just passive about life, life will happen to you. But if you're aggressive, if you take control of your own life, there's so much more for you to hold within it. Now, the average person in life is going to make around $3 million in their entire lifetime. But if you start to invest and earn 10%, 12%, 15%, or 28% like I do, you can easily amass $10 million, $15 million within your lifetime. Almost 4 times more than the average person will earn in their entire existence. Another thing is that many millionaires are going to be outward thinkers, future thinkers. You're thinking about your future. You're thinking about what you want your life to look like. I talk about it all the time, but 50% of people never think about the future. They live for the now. They live in the present. And although I can be very envious of that, and it's very tempting to say, you know what, I want it now. Let me go ahead and live life because tomorrow is not promised. At the end of the day, if you think like that, you will always be stressed, financially stressed. There are always going to be things that happen to you in life and not you making things happen. You don't want something to happen to you to where you are not in control. For example, somebody lost their keys the other day. Or every single year, my car just happens to break down right at the beginning or in the winter months. Once or twice a year. Things happen. I think this year I had to cough up like $8,000. I would say more like $6,000 to fix my car. If I wasn't ready for these emergencies, life would happen to me and I wouldn't be prepared to make things happen. I would be stressed. I'd be struggling. I would be trying to figure out what's next. But instead, oh, that's nothing. Let's move on. Let's figure out what to do next. So I say all that to say, now, if that were to happen and I'm at this new job, buying a rental car would probably not be worth it. So I have to ensure that my vehicle is up and running, functional, and can get me to point A to point B without breaking down, without having any concerns or issues, so that I can, again, continue to make this moolah and stay, on my purpose. So now you have to be more responsible, more financially responsible. Ensure that the vehicle that allows you to earn that income is continuing to work in your favor at all times. I'm even thinking of getting a secondary vehicle, right? And so a lot of the times, some people would say, you know what, that may not be necessary. What is the cost of that? Maybe it'll just be better to get a taxi for a day or 2 or 3. But ultimately, it's not only a convenience factor, because convenience should be almost the second or third priority on the list. I won't say it's the last thing on the list, but the second or third. Because convenience just means that there was another alternative option that would have been better or smarter, and you chose a little bit more expense for convenience. Convenience means that there was an alternative option that would have saved you more money, but you wanted the convenience of, just a more easier path. Doesn't mean you didn't work for this path to be accessible to you. It just means that you could have buckled down a little bit more and stayed down a little bit longer in order to achieve the same goal and the same result. And I say that all to say is that we will all be tempted in life. There are always going to be things that we want, not necessarily need. And you're going to have to make the decision. You're going to have to make the decision on whether or not you want life to happen to you, or if you are going to be proactive and make things happen in your benefit, in your favor. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because 90% of people do not subscribe. And make sure that you also hit that like button and share this video so that other people can get some hope, inspiration, and start to understand what is really going on in their life and in their world. I also hope that you are looking at my new podcast on Spotify and subscribing to my Rumble channel as well. And as you know, I post every single day at 8 a.m. daily on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify podcasts for my listeners. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace.